get these opportunities very often. But yeah, here we are down at Camp Coorong. We're at Camp Coorong down here at just past Ngarrindjeri, 7 Mile Road, and got Dad, Auntie Valda, Uncle Pete, doing a bit of an interview, filmed by Lorry Boy, and Uncle Steve Sumner's asking some questions. So just inside here is a bit of a family museum. I'll come inside and have a look.
And then you can tell us of your time when you moved away if you want to. It's up to you. Remembering that this is going to be left for your children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren for years to come. So it's a legacy that we don't have currently of fellows before us. All right? So be as open as you want to be. Relax, because if I think you're going too serious, I'll make you calm. Do something stupid.
Yeah.
All right? But it's important that I get your story and your version of it, not mine. Or
Raised in Ngarrindjeri with my grandmother, Mamo.
Alright, take your time.
Sorry, it was Mary.
Take your time.
Mary Rankine. Oh, I grew up there. I remember growing up with her. When I first started was out at what they call Sam's Island, which I knew as Sam's Island. We lived out there. There was the Clarkes, Rankine, Sumners, and that, and Lampards. We all grew up out there with Mummo, our grandmother. Then we moved into Ngarrindjeri. Sorry about this, but I don't think I did one, actually.
Take your time, man.
Yeah. I mean, then I remember we moved into Sandham Street in Ngarrindjeri. With Mummo there. If it wasn't for her, I reckon I would have been taken away. She was the backbone of us. From there, we lived at Sandham Street for a while. I can't remember how many years or whatever. Then we moved up to McCollum Street. Right. From there, on the weekends, I was about 12, maybe 10 or 12. I used to come out to the Needles. Auntie Nell and Auntie Pearl lived out there. They wanted help on the weekends to milk cows and that sort of stuff. So I was the one that was targeted to go out there. Look, over the years, when I was out there, I didn't really like it, but now I look back on it, it's the best part of my life.
Born in Ngarrindjeri. The first thing I remember is living out at the Bluff with Grandma, Pop, Auntie Fan, and I was only a very young lad at that stage, and Pop really meant a lot to me, because I remember a time when what we used to do, we used to set traps, and Pop would set the traps, and he'd take me around to with him, and I was only a very little fellow at that stage, and Pop would say to me, "Son, keep up, you'll step into a trap." And being a young lad, you daydream and you look around, and all of a sudden Pop's gone somewhere else to set another trap, and this day I looked up and Pop was in a different direction, so I just went straight to where he was. Only trouble is there was a trap right there where I ran, and my foot would go into the mouth of the trap, and I tread on the trap, and Pop heard it, and he comes running back, and when the trap went over my foot, I didn't even worry about it, but as soon as he took the trap off, that's when the pain hit. And he told me off. He said, "I told you to stay with me." And I said, "But Pop, your feet, your steps is a lot longer than mine." And it takes 3 steps of mine to get to one of yours. And I just went to the quickest way I can get back to you. And and I remember, like, Duck was saying about, when we went from the Bluff to Meningie and that, I remember a few more times when we were living out at the Bluff, and we'd catch the bus into Meningie, and where we used to come from out at the Bluff, we had a fair old hike to catch the bus. And I remember some days there we had this, I think it was an oak tree in the middle of the laneway, and there were some days I didn't really want to go to school, and we'd jump up in the tree, and the bus driver, he actually worked us out, and he started off the bus ready to go, and as soon as the bus starts moving, we jump down the tree, and he backed the bus up and he tooted us, and we had to go to the school. David said, it was really hard growing up in those days, because you had the colour of my skin. Like you say you're an Aboriginal fella, and kids would actually have a go at you, and they call you half caste and all this sort of thing. What percentage are you? And that really got to me, and I was one of these fellas that just can't, I just stood in the background. I walked away from fighting. I didn't want to fight these others, and I just sat there, and but it always ate at me as I grew up and moved to different places. Kids, we used to always go around up to the walk around the the Coorong, go up to the sand hills and all that. And this one day we found this pelican had a broken wing, and I, being the youngest, I thought I'd stand out in front of the pelican, and you know a pelican has got a little hook on its beak, and I just got too close to the pelican, and he reached out and bit me on the backside, and it didn't take very long for me to actually move away from the front, but we actually had that pelican for a long time, and it would fly, when its wing come good, it flew away, but it came back. It always came back, and you know, like when it died, like we thought it would fly away and go back with its family, but it stayed with us and it died there. Yeah. And it did upset me. But the Bluff was, you know, like, to me, it was a special place in our life because we did things together.
And it was harsh, like it was harsh. Like we had no running toilets. You know, it was just like go to the toilet out the back with a long drop. I mean, and the showers. You know, like we have a shower. All I remember is having a shower once every Sunday because you had to put the wood in the thing, heat it up, and that was part of you girls doing that and getting it ready for us.
Which you had to go and cart water.
Yeah.
You know, carry buckets of water back. I remember.
There was that down at Bluff as well.
Boundary Bluff.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what. When I lived down Bonnie Reserve, I don't know. We only had rainwater tank, and when that ran out, we had hot water.
Yeah.
There was no well or anything near there. Out there, we first off moved from the 1 mile out to Bonnie Reserve, and there was 2 houses put out there, and one house was Uncle Fuller and Nenny lived in one house, and we moved into the other house. I think Nenny and Uncle Fuller moved there first, and then we came out from the 1 mile and went into the other house, and I thought that was going from the 1 mile. It was sort of a luxury in this house, but to me, because there was a bathtub in there, and we could light up the heater and get hot water into the bathtub, and that was, to me, it sort of felt like, oh my God, I don't have to jump in a tub with the, you know, like out in the open. So that was a real good thing. But we were only out there for a few months. But my mum passed away before that, you know, like out there, 2 weeks after my brother was born. And that
so you lived there
really
still,
hard.
You lived there still, though?
We lived there for a while, for only about 3, might have been a couple of months or 2, with different people who came and stayed with us, like Auntie Thora and Uncle Cyril. I came and stayed with Dad and looked after us, and I'll never forget him because he taught us how to cook scones and, you know, and that, and Hilda Day now, she is Auntie Thora's daughter, and we, my sister and myself, the younger sister, Kay, lived there with Auntie Thora and for a while, and then went to live with my grandfather and down at Boundary Bluff, because I was I just felt so depressed and so angry, you know, after losing my mum, that I was totally lost and had to get to be with my grandfather and my grandmother.
How old were you, Val?
I was 11 years old. When
You
my
were,
mum died.
you were when Auntie Mary died.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You were 11.
yeah, I remember that.
Because I remember,
Really?
I
Miss
remember,
Allen was 2 weeks old.
and I remember Auntie Mary dying. So
You would have been about 6 or something.
yeah,
like
I was
that.
about 6 or something. I remember Auntie Mary.
No,
I reckon I seen Auntie Mary once.
Yeah.
I can remember her seeing her once. And then I heard that she died, you know. Nothing much more was told us about it, you know, and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Now, I remember seeing an old photo, and you three were in it, and so was Bunny, and I think Betty was in it, and it was behind an old truck, and it looked like you'd gone to some congregation or something, whether it was a church thing, whether it was at Murrindjeri or something.
That wasn't. That
What was
photo,
that?
I remember that photo, and somebody sent it to me and said, oh, you know, that was me. But it wasn't me, it was Betty. And I remember going to the thing because we was at Boundary Bluff, and you know the church people used to come?
Yeah.
And they used to, they used to take us, and I don't think, but that was one of the things.
Came after.
Yeah, came after. But the first lot were this other group that came, might be Coorong too, just come think of it. Anyway, this group came and they took us like to church, and we used to travel to Coorong or to Ngarrindjeri and other places.
Yeah.
What were the roads like? What were the roads like back then?
Skinny. They were bitumen roads, but they were really tiny, and 2 cars going along, one had to stop, more or less, you know, to pass one another. But it was, I just remember that Ngarrindjeri Road, even after I got married and went back down that, I was in I got married and then went back down that road to drop off Christmas presents and all that, and I go and see Mummo. You know, I always sort of made a thing of going back to see her, but I left Ngarrindjeri when I was about 16 to go to Adelaide. No, I went over to Dimboola and stayed with Auntie Lil, because Auntie Lola wanted someone to stay with Auntie Lil to look after, you know, keep her company. And I went over there and I stayed with her for about 3 months. And I got homesick and I said to her, I want to come home. So Auntie Lola said, okay, well, I'll have to bring Auntie Lil back to Tila. And that's what happened.
So with that, when you went over there, was that when we were living in Tandem Street and that? We were living in Ngarrindjeri by that time? Valda?
I'm just trying to think.
It would have been.
No.
Oh, well, actually, was living in McCullum Street.
Oh,
I reckon.
McCullum Street, was it?
No.
Was that?
No. This I went over there when.
Because I remember all of a sudden your girls
I
are
was
there,
13.
and then all
And
of a
then
sudden
he's gone.
the girls are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
It probably was when we were in Meningie, because Auntie Lola wanted someone to go over there, and I was nearly to the time of starting high school, because she wanted me to go to Horsham High School, and I went there, and I looked at the school, and I thought, I don't fit in here. You know, there was too many other. It just wasn't right with the school. I didn't find connection with another Aboriginal person.
yeah,
You know, and I said to her, I
Right.
can't go to school over here.
because all I remember is all of a sudden you girls are there at Sandham Street there, and
Yeah.
then a whole lot of you are gone, and
But
no
I
one
did.
told us where you went to.
But I did remember living up at the
McCullum.
the top McCullum,
Mm.
because you know the sleep out.
Yeah.
That's where all the boys sort of slept,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and the girls slept in whoever else was there,
yeah,
like Nessie and Kay and
yeah, and
Bunny.
Bunny.
And, yeah.
were in the bedrooms inside,
Yeah,
and after that my mind went blank from when I left there, because I went to work in Adelaide, and then I went nursing down in Mount Gambier.